Good morning, everyone. So,
good morning.
So this is it's a small group. So I encourage you as I go through some of these slides that if you have any questions, just throw your hand up or yell at me, and we'll pursue some of the slides I've put together. It's we're if you didn't know the name, we're the Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society, and basically we're the stream keepers of the Englishman River and its tributaries. And again, my name's Peter, and I'm the vice president of this society. We started in 1998, and our mission has been the recovery of wild Pacific salmon. Around that date is an important time in the history of the Englishman River because it was designated as an endangered river. And over about a 5-year time period, between 1999, 2000, and 2005, $1.6 million was put into watershed restoration to assess the problems that the watershed had for fish, that fish were experiencing. And our organization, MVIHES, which is the anachronism, it was the community organization that was formed to work with this initiative, when that initiative involved us liaising with the feds and the province and their local and their consultants over that time period. So that's how we started. Now, over the past 10 years, we've developed our programming to kind of reflect on the need to ensure a healthy watershed for fish. And so we came up with this idea of promoting the concept that watershed health depends on you. And that's basically to encourage our community to engage in all aspects of ensuring a vibrant, healthy river for fish. We do that by initiating projects that involve our 70-odd volunteers to work on restoration of fish and fish habitat, in monitoring of water and aquatic ecosystems that fish depend on, and through outreach and education of our community about the various issues that are going on. Everybody hear me okay? Good.
Yeah.
So again, our focus is the Englishman watershed. That's where we do most of our work. And I'm just going to give you some what I'll call gee whiz facts about this watershed. It's 324 square kilometers in area. 87% of this watershed is privately owned by Mosaic, the forest company. The river is 35 kilometers long, and it starts at Mount Arrowsmith and discharges, of course, in the estuary just below the Orange Bridge in St. Perel. 15.8 kilometers of the river is accessible to salmon and trout. So that's all the water between the estuary and Englishman River Falls. There are fish above the falls, but we generally do not work on any projects associated with the upper watershed. So anything above the falls we're not too active with. There are 4 major tributaries to this watershed, and 5 species of salmon and 2 species of trout. The estuary is one of the larger estuaries on Vancouver Island. It's about 130 hectares. And the watershed is within a UN biosphere reserve. And of course, if you watch Knowledge Network in the last month, you may have seen the episode about this biosphere called the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Reserve, and it was on a TV show called Striking Balance. Now, for the rest of this, most of my talk here, I'd like to just kind of focus on one small tributary to this watershed, because it's really been a focus of our initiatives for the last 10 years, and that's the Shelly Creek watershed. So this is a map showing where Shelly Creek watershed is. It basically flows from Little Mountain, which is in the lower left-hand corner of the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Oops. And it flows downstream. This is the Highway 19. And Highway 19, and it flows this way. Of course, the Orange Bridge is right here on the Englishman River, and it basically discharges into the river just above the Orange Bridge. So this watershed is, this river or this creek is 5 kilometers long, and the watershed is roughly 5.2 square kilometers. We have been, as I said, working here for the last 10 years on various projects involving restoration of habitat, monitoring, and public outreach. We call it 10 years of citizen science, and it involves a number of different activities throughout the year. And I thought I'd just highlight some of those. They include water quality monitoring, measuring flows in the creek, and attempting to monitor fish populations. Some of our data sets are over 12 years old, so they give us an excellent understanding of what's happening. Oops. With the data, we can propose and implement restoration projects and engage neighborhoods to help us out. One of our monitoring projects is a project on the lower creek, and it involves a downstream smolt trap. Now, smolts are the young of the year salmon that spend a year in the creek before they move downstream, and this trap actually collects them, and we count them out of the box. So every spring we install this trap just below Martindale Road, and we capture coho smolts moving downstream to the river and the estuary. This year we counted over 1,600 coho smolts and over 40 trout. And we also were able to have a program was initiated this year to actually put small tags called pit tags into these fish to help monitor their survival. Now, a little bit of information about this pit tag. These are small tags that are in, with a level of information on them that it's quite incredible, but they're the size of a grain of pepper. They're really, really tiny, and they are actually injected into just under the surface of the skin of a small fish. And they're not electronic, but they do actually have, they're activated when they go over a small antenna. And these antennae are actually put in the bottom of streams. This year, there is a program to put as many small pit tags into juvenile salmon as possible, and Englishman River is one of the sites that that project is ongoing this year. That picture at the bottom is actually the antenna, and it was put into the bottom of sunk into the gravel down on Plummer Road, which is just below the Orange Bridge last month. And as soon as the fish goes over this antenna, as it swims either downstream or upstream in a few years, there will be all kinds of information that will be registered into a computer about how that fish is moved around through the North Pacific. Okay. That technology of actually pit tagging is something that we thought this year, if this information is going to be, it's going to be very valuable to understand how fish migrate around, and we thought we would engage a VIU biology student to use that technology to put on to resident cutthroat trout in Shelley Creek. And she started that last month, and her name is Allie. And we, the volunteers of MVIHES, are going in and netting some of the fish in Shelley Creek Park and allowing her to put tags into them. And so far we've captured about 35 cutthroat trout, and she's using what looks like a metal wand, a metal detector, to actually locate the fish after we've put them back in the creek. So she's detecting these fish over about a 600 to 800 meter long stretch of the creek to see how much they move. Now this year, of course, it's been very, very low flows, so nothing's moved so much. But I just wanted to tell you that pit tagging is very active with our group right now. Some of our monitoring activities in Shelley Creek and the Englishman River have included water sampling, and that's the far left picture, where we're water sampling for Environment Canada every 2 weeks, Shelley?
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Every 2 weeks at the Orange Bridge. Those water samples are couriered back to Vancouver for long-term data sets for Environment Canada. That picture in the with the yellow vested volunteer, that's our volunteer doing water quality testing for the regional district in Nanaimo. We do that at this time of year, and it's very active. We do flow measurements in the river to ensure fish-friendly flows are maintained. That's the picture on the upper right. And we also have been active this summer, of course, with the low flows, salvaging coho and trout fry from some of the small pools that get isolated when with low flows. So those are some of the activities some of our volunteers are active in.
The guy at the bottom right there, Dick Dobler, we call him the fish whisperer because he's really good at getting the fry. Now he says that's great, but he wishes that it would work on bigger fish too, not just the little guys. So
This guy here.
yeah.
Right. Of course, over the past years, except not this year because of COVID, we've also, of course, been monitoring in certain locations in the estuary to assess diversity and abundance of many aquatic species. So that's a summertime activity that we've been involved with, and again, provides very, very good long-term data sets that you can compare year to year, and that is like, it's gold, very, very important. And of course, everybody here that does it are all volunteers. Now, one quick item I wanted to bring up, talking briefly about the estuary, is the recent acquisition of the property right at the end of Mariner Way. So that's the property that's I've got the arrow to. So this large chunk of property was just bought by the Wilson 5 Foundation, and that is the Lululemon owner, and they're donating the land that they've purchased to the Nature Trust. And this picture here is what this is going to look like over the next 20 to 30 years. They want to remove the house and put it back to nature. One of the other monitoring projects that we have ongoing is a marine-oriented monitoring program in which we monitor forage fish beach spawning. And it's in partnership with Vancouver Island University, where we are tasked with collecting sand samples from local area beaches. And VIU look for eggs of forage fish in those samples that we provide to them. The two species of forage fish that are local that spawn in our area are sand lance and surf smelt. And we have been successful. You might think that it's looking for a needle in a haystack, but believe it or not, we've been successful in 3 years in a row in actually finding sand lance at one of the, or two of the beaches in our area, one at St. Perel and one at Parksville Community Beach. Now, a quick summary of some of the restoration initiatives that we've taken specific to the Shelley Creek area. In recent years, we've worked hard to improve some in-stream habitat for trout and salmon by reducing the ability of high winter flows to erode portions of the creek's channel, and also to remove sediments. So that's been kind of the focus of these restoration efforts. Try to make sure that stream banks that are eroding quite a bit are protected, and to remove some of the sediment that's built up over decades. That top picture was in 2015 up on Blower Road. So that's just down from where Gil's lives. In 2020, we worked on a project on Martindale Road to remove about 40 truckloads of sediment that had deposited in a small wetland just above the road. Here's a better picture of that wetland that we worked on. This is about 200 feet up. On the left-hand side is what the wetland looked like before we removed all of the sediment and heavy vegetation that had moved into this area, especially in the last few years.
And a few turtles.
And of course, here on the right is the finished product as of last summer, and it's starting to actually look a lot greener and a lot better now. We purchased the most expensive turtle log we could find and reinstalled it into the site. And I can't remember the name. What's the name of the turtle, Shelley?
Martin.
Martin.
And then he's got his two buddies. He has his muskrat buddy Dale and his other muskrat buddy Dale.
So I want to impress upon you that we did this for fish. We did not do it for the turtles.
They're invasive turtles, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. But you know, the local community down on Martindale Road, the people that drove by this project, they thought, I think it was a turtle restoration project. Anyways, the idea here is to improve rearing habitat for coho and trout, especially during the winter time. Not specifically for turtles, although they have shown up. This year we have improved the we've done some more work in the lower Shelley Creek area, and if you can see kind of Martindale Road there and the Martindale Pond last year's project. This year we worked over about a 250-meter long stretch of creek in the farm. So here we are over here, and we worked between this red line and this red line, removing sediment and putting it up onto a berm. Again, you don't really understand until you see what the creek looked like before. So in the summertime, it was so full of sediments that there was no discernible flow. All of this was removed, and this is all sediment that has moved into this area primarily from upstream, and we excavated it out and put a layer of spawning gravels in a major part of the lower creek, and that was our effort. And the final push to have everything done was done about 3 days or 2 or 3 days before last weekend when the big rains came. And
where's this farm?
the farm is just downstream from where you live, Gil.
Okay.
It's on Stanford Road, you know, just where Stanford turns into
okay.
Shelley, where all the sheep are.
Yeah, okay, I follow that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Here's Parksville Chrysler, where my
Yeah, okay.
okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Although we did not do any riparian planting this year, we have been involved, and this is usually an annual initiative where we take wild native streamside plants and plant them close to in riparian areas within 30 meters of streamside areas to again ensure that some of these areas that have been we've loved them to death, we've got to make sure that the vegetation is maintained. So that's been an activity for the last 4 or 5 years.
So these two planting areas that Pete is showing are both on Shelley Creek in the section of Shelley Park close to at Hamilton there. So that was a big push to you know, rehabilitate some of that land, and also particularly close to where the new bridge is, where the dogs used to go across on, you know, people used to go across on the old bridge and the dogs would go out and trample down everything. So hopefully some of that will start to grow now that we have a new bridge there in that park.
Yeah, Thanks, Shelley. Then the final piece, so we do monitoring, we do restoration projects that we build information from over the years from our monitoring, and then we do outreach to the community. And I'll just highlight one initiative that we're attempting to do right now. And it's this is just going to highlight our desire to inform and educate, get residents to take action to conserve water in the summer, to understand how to help small streams. So this graph is just showing some of the flows in Shelly Creek that we graphed out from a logger that we installed in the creek last year about this time. And you can see that in the fall period through early winter, that's when we really get the high pulse of flows. The blue line are precipitation, some rainfall events, and some of the peak rainfall events around Christmas time. Usually that's when we get some of the peak flow events. So flows we've monitored in this creek at roughly peak flows at about 2,000 liters a second. Now, just give you a sense of how variable these flows are. Here we are, in peak flows about 2,000 liters a second. But down here, when we started into the summer period, we were already, because of the very dry spring, we were already in a period, in a situation where the flows were in June of this year, were already as low as any time we've ever measured it. Similar to flows in late September. We measured the flows just about 2 weeks ago in Shelly Creek, and flows now are 6 liters a minute. So that's like turning your hose on about a quarter. That's how much water is in this creek in the summertime. So our efforts is to try and tell the community that we've got a situation here that really, I guess, is coming about because of climate change. There's water and rainwater, and how we manage water on the east coast of Vancouver Island will be critical in trying to preserve small streams like this creek. That's the tributary, Shelly Creek, which is a tributary to the Englishman. So, we've been actively trying to lobby local governments about this issue, but to date, we have not had very much success. So we're taking the issue about water conservation to local neighborhood. And the picture on the left just kind of highlights Jill's neighborhood, actually, Hamilton Road, Butler Road, and the residences and stratas that are close to the creek. That's Shelly Creek right there as it flows through that neighborhood. So we're talking about this issue, about water conservation and about water balance to the neighborhood, and trying to change the perspective on this issue. We sent out even a survey to find out if anybody's interested in this subject. And we sent it out to this whole neighborhood of 175 residents. And we got a very good response. Everybody's very concerned about the creek, and they want to do something about it. And that's really encouraging. So here's an example of something that we're going to be trying to promote, especially to those 2 large stratas that are immediately adjacent to the creek. And this is to get, to take on an undertaking that to build rain gardens to allow drainage from local residents in the area to flow into a soaker garden where water can be returned to the ground, thus going back to the stream to sustain low flows during the summertime. We're just trying to get the neighborhood to understand that it's really up to them to help put back flows into the creek. And this is an example by actually digging a very deep, well, as digging about a 2 to 3 foot deep garden, filling it with soil and plants, and redirecting your downspouts from your drainage system around your house into it. And these can be designed to actually capture and put water back in the ground and not damage anything downstream. To help promote that, we've actually had some wooden fish designed, and this will be all in an effort to promote rainwater balancing and water conservation over the coming couple of years. To have people take a yellow fish and put it on their ground, on their property, to help us promote the initiative. Brown lawns is really a green way of thinking, and a lot of folks actually in this neighborhood think that green lawns is a it shows that they care about the environment. And we thought, oh, really, you've got to, if you take water and put it on your lawn, you're actually, people don't know where that water comes from. That's basically coming from water from the river and groundwater that we really need, especially during the summertime. So look for these yellow signs in your neighborhood, Jill.
Okay.
Now, last thing I wanted to just touch on was an enter to win. So we've got one of a kind glass trout that we've had our local artist actually develop for us. It's a Shelly Creek cutthroat trout, and it's the funding from this project, or from this initiative, this raffle, will help our VIU student do her project on Shelly Creek this year. So it's a raffle for a coastal cutthroat trout from Shelly Creek, and the tickets are available at our MVIHES website. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. And that's it.